Alright, what's going on? Shit like that.
You want me to start?
I'm starting. I'm talking now.
We talk together, right? You over here?
Yeah, I mean, you start right. You stay right there. I was gonna come into the frame. You stay right
Okay,
there.
okay, that's cool.
Alright, we got the medicine man. What's going on, y'all? We have the medicine man right here. I'm standing with. We're here with
Eric Leacock from the Cayman Islands.
the Cayman Islands. So we out here. Where we at right now?
One of these islands out here in Krabi. I think it's Chicken Island.
Okay, so Chicken Island, Krabi, Thailand. Make sure y'all come out. We're gonna put some video up. It's pretty beautiful out here. So last time I ran across this guy was actually in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. So we met out there flying the drone. We ran across each other again here in Thailand, and we had some remarkable conversations. So a topic we wanted to talk about right now is some of the psychedelic medicines that's that's going around, or that's out there that people may or may not know about, right? I know for sure some people may or may not know about them in the States. So when we're talking about those, we're talking about the DMTs, the ayahuasca,
San Pedro, the
San Pedro,
peyote, the cactuses.
yeah, so you name it. You can, mushrooms.
Mushrooms as well. Yeah, there's many types. There's the designer psychedelics, man-made ones like the LSD, which is actually a derivative from the ergot fungi that grows on the rye grains. So it's kind of a controversy if it's man-made or natural, but man-made ones are MDMA, all of those, or the natural ones like mushrooms and ayahuasca.
So when it comes to the man-made versus the natural, name us like 3 man-made and 3.
No, there's many man-made, especially
popular ones.
And nowadays more so because many countries, how people are kind of skipping legality, they'll make a derivative of the LSD. So it's like it's labeled as a research chemical, and it's sold as for research purposes only. And how they can jump the law because it's not LSD, they'll change 1 or 2 of the molecule structure. So it's almost like LSD, but legally, pharmaceutically wise, it's not the same molecule as LSD. So you have a lot of man-made ones now. Like the most popular ones are 2CI, and in Colombia they'll make 2C, which is misunderstood or sometimes confused with 2CI or 2C, which is an actual.
Oh, so wait.
Many people, this is a big common confusion, but
I know
there's many types of research.
So the drug named 2C is in Colombia.
That's almost like ecstasy.
Yeah.
They'll mix a combination of stuff together, and it's like similar to ecstasy, but it's not one specific, and it's not one specific recipe or ratio. Like they'll use different ingredients and use different ratios. So it's a kind of unregulated. You don't really know what you get. Sometimes when you're in Colombia and you get the 2C, that's not the same as that was existing before, like 2CI, 2C, 25I. They're derivatives of the LSD molecule, and it's very similar, but it's different. Like some of them last much longer. Like normal LSD only lasts about 3 to 4 hours. Some of these 25Is and 2C and all these research, they'll last up to 10 hours, 12 hours. Some of them you'll have an appetite, like you can still eat on it, and you'll where like normal LSD you don't have an appetite. So but there's many man-made psychedelics, and then there's many natural psychedelics that are from plants, seeds, roots, different parts of plants that they'll use.
Okay. So I know in the States right now, I think the mushrooms are kind of coming into play a little bit more, as far as being a little bit more common amongst the general public. From all of
the taboo.
Yeah, the taboo.
Yeah.
So what's the typical somebody like first time trying it? What should they try? What's the feeling like? Kind of walk us through that.
Well, with psychedelics, I definitely think now there's like a renaissance, a social psychedelic renaissance that's going on, and there's a lot of legalization that's happening. Like there's a couple cities in the US where all plant medicines have become legalized. So I think like Oregon's one of them. You can get mushrooms at a normal dispensary. And with mushrooms, there's like a couple checks, you know, recommendations, do's, don'ts. Some of the don'ts are like, don't take them with a big group of people that you don't know or at a party. I know that a lot of people do that their first time, but it's better to be out in nature. It's better to be with like friends or people you know. Don't do it near cops or cliffs or anything that can hurt you or harm you. And the things that you should do is it's really nice to be near a body of water. It could be the beach, river, a waterfall.
So what's the amount that you, all right, you got you had a group of friends you're with, you're at the beach, are you somewhere in nature maybe? And
So
what's the amount that you would probably start off at if you're like a beginner?
if it's your first time, now when it comes to like what the right dose is, there's a little bit of a science and an art with it, because some of the factors that will determine how much you would consume to how much you would feel it is like male or female, not so much, but a little bit, more so weight. If you're more of a heavier person, generally you need to consume a little bit more. If you have a high tolerance to even pharmaceutical drugs like Tylenol, if you have a high tolerance to things, some people are more sensitive and less sensitive. And also what you want to experience. Some people, their first time, they want to go deep, you know, heavy, hard. And some people, the first time, they kind of just want to dabble, like just kind of get a taste of it. For me personally, I always recommend to people, like psychedelics is like getting into a pool, and you don't want to just dive in the first time and take a heavy dose, and it's really tough if you're not used to being like a calm person or have like meditation techniques to kind of relax you. If it's too intense if you took a high dose. So sometimes I recommend to people just take a low dose, 1 to 2 grams. So it's kind of like putting your foot in the pool, testing the temperature of the water, you get a feel. And then another session, another time, you can do 2 or 3 grams, and you can kind of build up and do more. But generally, I think it's a good window to aim for is like a half a gram. You might not really feel it at all. Depends if it's someone really small or very sensitive. A half a gram might be enough for their first time. But I would recommend a gram. And if you're a guy or you're a little bit bigger, a higher tolerance, the 2 grams. And that you may not even feel that strong, but you'll get a little bit of the effects. And you get a kind of a taste of what it's like. And then as you take another time, you can go more to like 2 to 3 grams. And one day, if they're ready, I recommend doing 5 grams. You know, if you're someone that's really experimenting and exploring and trying to learn, you can go on beyond 5. I've done before. I don't do any longer. But some people need a heavy, strong dose, 7 grams, 8 grams, to really break through and surrender and have this surrendering of the ego, the dissolving, you know, kind of. If you do low dosages, you don't get that unless you have a lot of intention where you're like meditating, you're not stimulated by other people, and you can go deep inside your mind, deep inside yourself, and you can go pretty far. But generally, in the beginning, most people would need more like a 5 gram, 4 or 5 grams to get to that level. They call it like a breakthrough dose when you've broken through the other side.
Okay, I like to call that the opening of the third eye.
There you go. Yeah.
So as far as you seeing stuff, is before you start to see like
In the beginning, when you do low dosages, the effects will be depends how you consume it, but it usually comes on if you've eaten it. then instead of drinking it as a tea is another way to consume it. But if you eat it, it usually takes 40 to 60 minutes before you'll start to feel it. And then if you did a low dose, everything will be heightened. So all of your senses will be heightened, like audible sounds sound better, music sounds nice, nature sounds really nice. Visually, colors will become more vivid. If you're doing a little bit more into the higher, still like could be 2-3 grams, you'll get such a strong, vivid filter that things will almost start to look cartoonish. You can get a little bit of this kind of cartoon 3D look. Things are moving, breathing. And then when you start to do the higher dosage, you're gonna get much more visuals. You won't get like you're seeing things come out of out of the ground and that kind of stuff. That would be more if you like closing your eyes and you're kind of going into a meditative state, to like a dream state. Then you may see some strong visuals, hallucinogens. But if your eyes are open and you're like enjoying nature, you're looking at the beauty of whatever, the water or something, the leaves, the geometry of the leaves. And you did a high dose, then you start to see different things. It's different for everyone, of course. For me, I'll start to see like the prime colors, like prism, like how light is a reflection and color is a reflection of light in different spectrums, different frequencies. Mm-hmm. Then when I have higher dosages, I start to see the 3 prime colors that make up all of the colors in colors. So if I would look at a leaf, I could actually start to see like the red and the yellow and the blue.
The breakdown.
Yeah, the breakdown, like the pixelation of stuff. It's really interesting.
What about music, sound?
Everything sounds great, like sounds nice, sounds like amazing. So if you do listen to some really nice audible stuff, like let's say it's a sound frequency meditation, or you're listening to an orchestra, symphony that's playing all these musical instruments. Everything sounds heightened. All touch becomes like more the sensation of touch becomes heightened. So things feel like if you get like a nice sway rug, or one of those nice like soft rugs, and you're on a mushroom trip, you could end up an hour on that rug just rubbing it, just feeling it, because it's so soft, and the texture, and so all of your sound, taste as well, but not so much. Not like you'll feel an appetite to want to eat, but all of your senses get turned up.
Okay, so since your senses are turned up, we're talking about touch, taste, feel, etc., like that. When someone have sex on these, this is a topic I rarely talk about, or that I rarely hear talked about. What would that experience might feel like or be?
So I've never personally experienced mushrooms and having sex, but I have come across a handful of people that have. Mostly they were partners. One, they were a girlfriend and boyfriend, and the other couples were married. And I think it's something that from what they explained to me, and I understood, that it can be a very, very intimate and kind of like a very cosmic thing. Like you connect on a spiritual level that's beyond, but it's physical and spiritual at the same time. So they said it's amazing. Now they may not intentionally plan to have sex. They're gonna take mushrooms together, but sometimes they'll end up, from what I understood from these married couples. And it sounded wonderful, it sounded really nice, but it's something that I think you should reserve to not like a stranger, like a one night, like you just meet someone, let's take mushrooms together, and then you end up having sex. Doesn't mean you couldn't, but I wouldn't recommend it so much. I think it's something you should save for someone you have a connection with. It doesn't have to be your wife or husband, but I think someone that you feel a strong connection, you feel safe with. There's a level of trust and respect, and I think it could be blissful, very, very euphoric, very, very, amazing. Yeah. But I don't personally have much experience. Most of my experience has always been in like the spiritual meditation, ceremonial kind of settings. Very few, and only in the recent years, I've dabbled more with recreational use. like which is what most people are introduced through mushrooms, is recreational use. Like, hey, we're at a party, or hey, we're on vacation, or hey, let's take some mushrooms and walk around and explore, which is cool, but they have so much potential. Like they have really so much potential. It's what saved me from my PTSD.
So you want to open up a little more about that, like the PTSD and how it helped with you,
Yeah,
where you can get that if you are, you know, ex-military.
Yeah, it was I had not a lot of trauma. I went to Afghanistan twice, and I was in the Air Force. So thankfully, the Air Force, we get treated pretty well, and we don't see a lot of like first-hand combat. I worked on the planes, on the fighter planes, so I would hear stories from my pilots coming back. And my second deployment, I was on carrier planes, transport planes, not fighters. The first tour was fighter planes, the second tour was transport. And so we would do a lot of medevacs out. And some of these guys, you'd have breakfast with them in the morning, and later in the day, you would see them come back, half their body missing because they had some action, they got ambushed or something. So I saw a lot of gory stuff, a lot of kind of tough stuff, and I didn't think it was that bad, my PTSD, but after I had my mushroom trip, a heavy dose of mushrooms, I did a really strong dose, way more than 5 grams, and it helped me realize how much healing I needed to do and how kind of broken I was, but I was in denial. I didn't really realize it, and I was really, my coping mechanism was to suppress it. So I was really good at like hiding my issues. And the mushrooms just helped me heal so much. Like from one night, the 5 hours I was on the mushrooms was like 5 years with a psychiatrist. And
how much did you do?
I did a special species. It's a rare species. It's technically almost 2 times the strength of the traditional psilocybin cubensis. So if you were to do the equivalent in cubensis, like the most common, even golden teachers, all the, you got albino, penis envy, like there's hundreds of different species, but they're all from the same genus of cubensis. Psilocybin is the same potency pretty much across the board. Some are a little bit more, some are a little bit less, but nothing is compared to the species. There's 2 other species that are more rare, and one of those is what I took. So it would have been like more than 10 grams. I took 7 grams of this species, and then this species is almost 2 times the strength of the normal psilocybin mushrooms. So I don't want to say it was like 14 grams. So I kind of say, you know, it's at least 10 plus grams of the traditional psilocybin mushroom.
Okay.
So it was a strong drug. I took that knowing it was stronger, but naively not knowing how strong it was. If I had known that prior, I probably wouldn't have eaten so much. But I tell you, looking back at it now, it was the perfect amount. Because my ego was really, really stubborn, for the first half an hour of taking the mushrooms, I rolled around and I tossed on my bed, and my conscience was really fighting letting go. And my ego was really, I want to be in control. But because I did such a strong dose, I couldn't fight it. And there came a point, it's so strong, the sensation of feeling the mushrooms coming on was so strong that I had to surrender and let go. And I had a death experience, ego death, some people call it. And I actually experienced death. Anyway, fast forward, it really helped me heal. The next day, after that mushrooms session the night of, I totally changed my whole perspective on life, my priorities, everything. I decided to quit my job, sell everything I owned, and I took about a year of preparation, but I eventually unplugged and went on a backpacking trip for 3 years through Latin America, and only what I owned was what I carried. And those mushrooms helped change my whole perspective. Before, I used to be into like video games and consuming garbage, like entertainment, like TV shows and stuff. And that following day from that mushroom trip, I sold my video games. I started reading books. I learned so much from that one night. It even helped me to show me to change my health. So before I used to eat terrible, like fast food every meal all day because it's cheap, and how I could save money buying at Walmart. And after that mushroom trip, I decided no more like chemicals, no more artificial stuff. I started eating more organic, more healthy. And the path that I still walk today, before I became a photographer, back home I was a nutritionist. And I became a nutritionist many, many years after that mushroom trip. And that mushroom trip helped change my whole life. I'm so grateful for it. It saved me years of trying to discover myself, figure myself out, move on from my past and going to war. And from then on, I started experimenting more with mushrooms and really I have a deep, great respect for mushrooms because you could take them and have fun recreationally with friends and enjoy. But if you take them in like a ceremonial setting and use them to heal, I've seen like people in their 60s and 70s that I've taken mushrooms with, and they say it was one of the most profound things they've ever experienced. And some of them I've had many parents say it was as profound as the birth of their kids. You know, so it's something that I highly recommend to people. Not everyone's ready to do psychedelics, but if you take them in the right set and setting, so you're set, it's a very common saying, coming back from some of the founders or the pioneers back in the early days in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Set and setting is a very common saying. So set your intention. So you want to say like, what do I want to learn? What do I want to understand or gain or something intentionally, mentally. And then your setting is your surroundings. So I was saying like, you don't want to be by cops. You don't want to be by a cliff or somewhere that can hurt you if you were kind of feeling the mushrooms and you want to walk around and explore. You want to be somewhere like this, a beautiful nature. You can go and enjoy if you want to swim. Another recommendation is don't have artificial light. If you're doing a night session, any artificial light like your phone, white light from a flashlight, it's going to pull you out of your state, this state that you're in. So you always want to have natural light. So at night, I'll have candles or a fire. You can also use a red light. So like I have a headlamp, and the red spectrum and the green spectrum, it doesn't mess with your eyes because your eyes are going to be dilated from the psychedelics. And when you have those frequencies of light, it doesn't mess with your eyes and your dilation. So it doesn't kind of pull you out of that psychedelic state that you're feeling, that you're in, that you're experiencing. So there's a number of things that are kind of like recommendations. They're not musts, but they're recommendations. And the higher the dose you do, the more those recommendations become musts, like requirements. Because a higher dose, everything is going to be intensified much more. And you don't want to be somewhere that's dangerous. You want to feel somewhere safe. You can feel vulnerable. You can feel open to what you're experiencing. So that's why it is always recommended, or in traditional settings, in these cultures that have been practicing plant medicines for eons, they'll have a guide, they'll have a shaman, they'll have someone that will introduce you to the medicine and guide you on your journey to make sure that everything goes, as good as possible, as optimal as possible.
Okay. So last but not least, is there any one experience that you want to like let us know about? Of probably, it don't have to be mushrooms, or what's like the most fascinating experience you had? Which one did you take psychedelic, and could you tell us about that?
I would say my all-time favorite will be mushrooms, because kind of mushrooms is what set me on the journey that I still walk today. But I would say the most fascinating, most interesting, the cactuses are really interesting because it's weird that a cactus has psychoactive chemicals in it. The ayahuasca is very, very fascinating and in different parts of the Amazon where they practice. And it's been nowadays, because of the boom of psychedelics, they call it the psychedelics renaissance. Ayahuasca people are consuming all over the world now, but it will always come from the jungle. People can cultivate it in some tropical climate, but majority of the ayahuasca if consumed anywhere outside of the Amazon in the world, generally, most likely it came from the Amazon, and different cultures prepare and consume it in different ways. So the ayahuasca is really interesting, and I think the cake, the most fascinating out of all of them is the DMT. It's